How are we doing today? So, not too many people have watched the last video because, well, I don't have a lot of subscribers, but I said that there was going to be something different coming up on the channel. And first thing I'm going to try to do is some of this first-person stuff. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but I'm not used to this. I like pointing at stuff that I can fix and then talking about it. But what we've got is, I've come to a decision. I have always enjoyed watching stuff like Hot Rod Drag Week, and then the last several years you've got the Rocky Mountain Race Weeks, and now you've got Midwest Drags. I really like those events. They're really cool, watching what people do to actually be able to drive their cars that far and then race at all the little tracks in between. So I've decided, I've set a goal that I'm going to do one of those events. Not this year, because they're all booked up. There's only Drag Week and Rocky Mountain Race Week 2.0 left anyway, and they're all booked up. And I don't have anything ready to go anyway. And I'm not a big fan of thrashing roadkill style just to have something done and then having it break when I get there. That's not really my style. But I think what I'm going to do, because it's hard to get an entry to these things, because most of them allow everybody who entered last year to pre-register, and they've only got 200, 250 spots normally. And if everybody from last year registers, it's going to be tough getting in. Especially with the proliferation of the True Street type classes, where you'll have 150 cars that are, like late model for the most part stuff. I mean, and they're fast, don't get me wrong. There's some 9-second cars in those classes, but they end up having to run on index classes, and I didn't like index racing as far as like bracket racing type stuff when I was actually racing back in the day. So I'll try something different, especially because I'm going to be a first-time competitor next year. But I'm going to give them something that I don't think they're going to be able to refuse, because instead of building a car from scratch, I'm going to build my 37. It's already a street car, and not only is it a street car, but it's got a naturally aspirated big block in it. So certainly for the Rocky Mountain Race Week classes, it would fit either in big block naturally aspirated or hot rod. And there's only 4 to 6 to 8 cars in each one of those classes. So I would think if you're entering a car like this in one of the small classes, you'd be much more likely to get an entry coming from the outside than if they got 650 different Camaros and Mustangs and GTOs entered. Just my thoughts in the street classes. So what we've got, now we'll go back to my normal way of filming, is a 1937 Ford. It is actually registered as a 1937 Ford. It has a 37 Ford VIN, but it was a kit car made by Minotti that my dad built in the late 90s. It's got a TCI frame, Ford 9-inch, 355 posi in the rear, and a 502 Chevy with a Turbo 400 in the front, which is one of its issues, which I'll explain in a little bit. But she's always been a good car. I had a little issue with it a couple of years ago and ended up having to get a few pieces repainted, but my painter did a phenomenal job with it. You can't even tell. The only problem with it is that Turbo 400. With the 355 posi in it, it's snappy off the line because it's got 550 foot-pounds of torque. But with a Turbo 400 1-to-1 transmission, you're turning an unlocked torque converter. If you're turning 3,100, 2,900 to 3,100 RPMs at highway speed, that's what you're turning to do 65 to 70 miles an hour. And it's not terribly pleasant to drive with those kind of engine speeds. So my big plan is, this is getting a 4-speed automatic. We're going to get rid of the Turbo 400, which is a short shaft Turbo 400. And next week I'm going to be calling Gearstar and talking to them about one of their 204Rs, which is a 4-speed lockup automatic, but it doesn't have a computer, which is exactly what I want. And they can build them up to 600 horsepower, which is perfect for this car. Probably save a little bit of weight, and I'll have a .69 overdrive, which with these 355 gears should make them effectively like, you know, 270s, 280s to 1, which is going to be perfect for highway cruising. And then you just need a 12-volt source and a vacuum signal from the engine, and you've got a lock-up torque converter on top of it. So how much more, what more can you do for that? The other thing I'm going to do, which is actually going to disqualify me from Hot Rod Drag Week, or I think Midwest Drags, because they run the Hot Rod Drag Week rules, is I am putting a Holley Sniper fuel injection system on this car. I'm getting rid of the old 4010 Holley, which I really like, but I'm going to fuel inject this thing. And for the hot rod class in Hot Rod Drag Week, you got to be carbureted. I mean, I suppose I could convert it back eventually, but I doubt I will, because I don't think this is going to be something I do 3, 4, 5 times a year. It's probably one of those things that I'm going to do once, hopefully hopefully finish, and then I won't do it again. But who knows? Maybe it'll be that much fun. But that's my plan. This car's in good shape. It's got probably 16,000, 17,000 miles on it since Dad built it. They used to drive it a fair bit. I have not driven it much. And the main reason for that is I cannot keep the transmission fluid in this transmission. I have sealed it 9 ways to Sunday, and it still, if it sits for more than a week, it dumps 2 quarts, 3 quarts of friggin' transmission fluid on the ground. It is awful. I think I've lost a seal in the torque converter, and it's just allowing all of that fluid to drain back and then overfill the pan, and it finds whatever, up and halfway up the housing is not totally sealed. And I suppose I could take it apart and figure all that out, but then I still only have a 3-speed transmission. I could go with the gear vendors, but then I got to shorten the drive shaft a lot, and it doesn't have much of a drive shaft in it already. And it's going to be about the same price as going with the 200 4R. So might as well go with the transmission. I can keep the identical drive shaft. I just got to go from a big block or a 400 to a 350 yoke, and we should be good. So right now I got to get this thing out, jack it up, pull the drive shaft, and take some measurements. So let's see if we can get this poor thing to start, because it's been a while. Try to not step on the damn oil. Okay. We're in. Let's see if I can get you set up over here in the riding shotgun. That ought to work. Now this thing is usually, doesn't have a choke. I've wired the choke completely open. There it is. Let the fuel pump run for a while. Not bad for sitting for about 6 or 8 months. He's a little lumpy and it's probably going to smoke. But again, no choke. Now the other issue I'm going to have is I'm going to put it in reverse and it ain't going to move. Or it'll prove me wrong. Put one foot on the brake, see if we can get it out of here. A little surgy. But again, she hasn't been running over 6 months. take a little bit to get her to clear out. There she goes. It is kind of period correct for the late 90s. A lot of billet. Alright, we're going to warm her all the way up. I can't believe it moved. I got 3 extra quarts of transmission fluid that was ready. Power windows. It does have air conditioning. I'm going to go through that, fix a leak, and re-suck it down and fill it up with Freon. But she should be a decent car to drive. The other thing, you can do the ignition timing with the fuel injection computer. You can also do the fans, which will be nice. They can be triggered on temperature by the ignition computer, so that's going to be nice. Be able to get rid of a couple of these things. I won't need the choke anymore. Not that I use it anyway because it's wired open. Plenty of oil pressure. Charging good. It should stay idling. She's gonna quit. Idle's a little low, but again, it's cold and probably a little gummy. See if I can get the hood drop on it. Custom. Exhaust all the way out the back, which is a little ridiculous for a 500 cubic inch engine. So that's going to 2.5. We're going to redo that completely. So I got to put oxygen sensors in it. But that's the plan. Next year, possibly for Rocky Mountain Race Week in the summer, and certainly if they have Rocky Mountain Race Week 2.0, this car is going to be on the trip. The nice thing about Dad having put a bumper on it is that bumper's coming off and I'll mount a trailer hitch to those brackets, so that's how that's going to work. It's also going to have to run slick, so I'm going to have to get another set of wheels. And I'm thinking some 28 by 9s to fit right in there nicely. They still make that style wheel, so I'll just get the same style. The interesting thing about the car is I say I don't like index racing, but it's going to be restricted to an 1150 in the quarter no matter what it's capable of because it does not have a cage in it, and I'm not putting a cage in it. So I'm kind of hoping it's much quicker than that, because then I'll just put a threaded rod as a throttle stop and you just have to adjust it so I can target the 1150s if it'll run it. I don't know. I'm hoping it runs 12s if nothing else. It's never been on the track. But, alright. Well, we're going to let this thing warm up a little bit more. Then we're going to jack it up. I'm going to see how much of a pain in our butt it's going to be to get that transmission out. But I also need to take some dimensions on the drive shaft and the transmission itself to make sure what I believe is going to fit is actually going to fit. So, start of a new project. Hopefully one that makes this a lot more drivable, and then hopefully we can have some fun with it. Alrighty. Well, she's doing pretty good. can't believe it moved on its own without any fluid, because that's the offending kitty litter, and it's ridiculous. It is coming from the uphill side of the transmission on the right over here. I think I know where it's coming from, but I'm done with that transmission because I want overdrive. This is a great transmission. It's a TCI Turbo 400 with about a 2800 stall converter in it. A little tight, but for what it is, it's been great. It's, almost 16,000 miles on it. So we're going to clean this up, dry it up, put some more kitty litter down, stomp all that in, blow this place out, because I got rid of some old junky engines and parts and things, made a little more room in here. I got to pull the tires off of these old wheels that I junked during my little off-roading escapade, and get those recycled, I suppose. A couple of them are pretty good, but I don't know. I know this one's obviously bent. This one's all barked up. That one's got a big bark in it. So the only one that's good is this one, really. So I'll probably just recycle those as aluminum wheels down at the recycler. It's too bad because they were nice, but I ruined them. There's that. So, oh, and the other nice thing is, my actuator still works. Yay! I gotta get some bump stops for that because it's not quite level on this side. Needs to be raised up a little bit, but the rubber bumpers are gone from sitting so long. Nice thing, that transmission shifter is a B&M Mega Shifter, and it is 4-speed capable as well. You gotta go in there, pull a pin, and it becomes a 4-speed shifter, so I don't have to change that, which is nice. A lot better than a column shift. Most guys who build hot rods go with a column shift and put a big console in it, but Dad wanted a 4-speed manual in this thing, but he couldn't get pedals to work. And so we have that, and it's going to be perfect. That's a good drag racing shifter. I like that one. So, alright, now we're going to put some jack stands under this thing, get under it, and see if I'm going to end up having to buy a little car lift to get this transmission out when I do. So, that's next. Alright, so it's going to be a little snug under here. Okay. Yeah, she's filthy. Looks like they're going to be 1310 U-joints. Woo, heating the car up before getting under here was dumb. Anyway. Alright. Oh man. Where the hell is the bell housing? I can't even see. Yeah, that's going to be pretty good. Drive shaft's not bad, but we're going to have to pull that out so I can check out the yoke. Yeah, I'm going to need to get a little car lift because I don't know how I'm going to get this out from under this beastie. Conveniently, the cross member unbolts, which will be nice once the drive shaft's out. It does appear to have enough room to go straight down. Yeah, there's even a notch cut into one of the supports for the oil pan. That'll be entertaining. Hopefully the 200R4 isn't too much different. Or 4R, kind of a weird unit. But I think we're going to be in pretty good shape. Might have to make a little bit of clearance here and there, but I don't think it's going to be much. There's the brake master cylinder. One of these days I'll have to go through all of that too. Plenty of room for exhaust. And this is just 2-inch all the way from the headers, which is going to be rather entertaining. Kind of wondering if the exhaust can come up and go through here. I think it certainly looks like it could to some extent. And if that's the case, that'll save me a world of hurt. Because, okay, this is the fuel pump up here. That's going to have to get moved all the way to the back because the high pressure fuel pump for the fuel injection needs to be, it's outside the tank, but it needs to be all the way as close to the tank as possible. So we'll have to redo these lines. It's mostly metal lines, fuel filters, all that happy stuff. That's pretty good. Everything else under here is not bad. Drive shaft. Looks like it ain't rusted, so either it's extremely well painted or that's an aluminum drive shaft, which would be pretty cool. Never really paid much attention to it, because I've only ever had it out when I changed the chunk in the rear from the 3.0 open to the 355 posi when I got it. Yeah, I think I'm going with 2.5 inch with some Borlar Magnaflow style mufflers, a little bit bigger than these cherry bombs, and get a little more flow, but hopefully not much more noise in the grand scheme of cruising. But yeah, she's low. There's not a good easy way to work on this car. Alright, well, there we go. Alright, conveniently these U-joints are decent. So let's see what we got. Just under 1.2. Yeah, about 1.950. Oh, no, 1.1875 would be 3/16, I guess. So we're at 1.192. So that's probably going to be 1 3/16. And my length, which is center of this to here, is basically 5.5, with this being let's say 3.25. So she's a stubby one. But the other thing I guess I can measure is across here, which is 3.9 minus 2 times 0.14. So 3.9 times minus 0.14 is 376 minus 0.14, 362. So hey, that's perfect, 3 5/8. I think that's a pretty good size U-joint there. That may be a 1350. But we'll have to double check my numbers. So that's basically the dimensions I need for that. And that'll allow me to keep it, because the 200 R4 is a much smaller diameter here. This is the Turbo 400 style, which is giant. And the 350 and the 200 are much smaller in diameter. But length is good. I just got to get this, which looks to be 3 5/8. I think by 1 3/16 caps. And they're all still good, so that's nice. They've been greased. Yay, on both ends. Boy, that'll be pretty slick if we can just get a new yoke. Not have to change the drive shaft when we put the new transmission in. So, that's probably going to do it for today. I'm most likely going to pop the drive shaft back in, get this back in the enclosed garage for a little bit, because it's going to rain again, and I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to stage this whole area so I can just get the whole thing up in the air and leave it there. Because you can't work under this just by jacking up the back. You got to jack the front end up and put the whole car on jack stands to make it work. But we are moving forward. So the next several months are going to be me converting this thing to 4-speed automatic and fuel injection. And after that, we're going to the track. We're going to see what this thing will do. Hope you're all having a good day. Talk to y'all later.